Workers' Day was first declared in Nigeria by the Kano State People Redemption Party government in 1980, and it became a national holiday in 1981. Since then, it has been celebrated along with the rest of the world. According to a KPMG International Global Economic Outlook report, unemployment in Nigeria is expected to continue to be a major challenge in 2023 due to the limited investment by the private sector, low industrialization, and lower than required economic growth, and consequently, the inability of the economy to absorb the 4 to 5 million new entrants into the Nigerian job market every year. But the plight of many Nigerians who happen to be gainfully employed is characterized by late or outrightly owed salaries, long frustrating hours in traffic, very early morning starts, and late night ends.
Is there anything worth celebrating? I think what Nigerian workers would essentially celebrate is to celebrate themselves. Essentially, we are talking about at least three major factors that have made it completely difficult to be a worker in Nigeria. So we're talking about one, weak macroeconomic fundamentals. We're talking about potential fiscal crisis, obviously, from the revenue of government and spending of government. And we're talking about essentially worsening human development indices. So these three factors have made it completely difficult for Nigerian workers to, even say whatever I earn is sufficient.
In recent times, a new crop of workers have emerged. Content creators, social media influencers, and generally, people who can conveniently work from home. The question is, has the Nigerian working environment evolved enough to accommodate this crop of workers?
In between public and private sector. For the public sector, I would say no, because the ability to remote work is hinged on the presence of a very strong technological infrastructure. We know that we don't have that yet in our public space. We are not there yet, in the public sector. And because of that, we would say, no, in that aspect of Nigeria, we are not yet ready. But in the private sector, I think the question isn't so much whether we are evolved enough, but rather that the fact that it has come to meet us, it is our reality. And businesses have had to begin to match up, right, to ensure that that their technology is in place and that they have policies and processes that allow their people work remotely.
According to Statista, the national minimum wage for federal workers in Nigeria reached 30,000 Nigerian naira in 2022, which equaled about $65. On average, the monthly cost of living for an individual in Nigeria amounted to over 43,000 Nigerian naira in 2020, whereas this figure added up to over 137 Nigerian naira for a family. The question begging for an answer is, how realistic is this given the current state of the economy?
In November 2022, for example, headline inflation had risen to a 17-year high, the highest since September 2005, at 21.47%. In other parts of the world, when you have your inflation as high as 21%, it's already a national crisis. Because at the minimum, your inflation should not even go beyond a single digit. So you do not just have a double digit. You have a double digit as at November at about 21.47%. The last I checked, I think for March we're already talking about 22% or even more. So when you have inflation eating into the income of Nigerian workers, what you have is a steady decline in purchasing power parity.
Nigerian workers have been plagued with harsh social and economic maladies, from instability and increase in prices of some petroleum products to cash scarcity to epileptic power supply occasioned by low generation, transmission, and distribution, with the resultant effect on the high cost of manufactured goods and services, and generally insecurity within the country. As another Workers' Day comes and goes, the government at all levels will do well to right many of these ills. Bettina Nwelih, reporting for News Central.